Jai Mohanji, I welcome you all for this session of the Guru Leela reading. And those of you who are watching on YouTube, welcome. I am Rekha Murli and I will be reading today from one of our Guru Leela books, which is book number 6. The title is They Walked with Him, Part 1. So I will be reading today one beautiful sharing from our dear friend Subhashri Totangal. And this was again an interesting set of experiences shared by Subhashri as she worked very closely with Mohanji. So to give you a little bit of an introduction about Subhashri, a senior IT executive, lives with her family in the UK. Born in Odisha, India, she holds a master's degree from IIT Mumbai. Subhashri has been connected to Mohanji since 2015 and currently serves as the Vice Chair of Mohanji UK, a trustee in ACT UK, leads Mohanji Foundation's testimonials team, and is a member of several boards within Mohanji Foundation. Subhashri is a Mohanji Acharya, also a practitioner of Maitri, MTM, and FMP. She is also a trainer of the Conscious Kriya and Empowered program. She's been Mohanji's PA and has had the opportunity to serve and travel with Mohanji on many occasions. We have the connection. We have been connected for lifetimes. We belong to the same tradition. Guru Mandala loves you. This is Mohanji's quote. These words by Mohanji in January 2017 made me realize my life's purpose slowly, step by step. It was a gradual transformation for me from the first day of our meeting in July 2015, when I saw my Param Aradhya, most revered Lord Sri Jagannatha in Mohanji. I had only book knowledge about the Guru's importance in our lives. I have written about the commencement of my journey with Mohanji and my transformation after that in the previous book, Guru Leela, Volume 2, and my book, Jagmohana. Serving the Guru. I went from spiritual sadhana to serving the Guru and his mission through a pure inner awakening during a retreat with Mohanji in June 2017 in London. In a meditative state, during a process with Mohanji, my inner was set. My only aim is to serve my Guru as an enslaved person. Whenever he returns to the earth, I will come back to serve him. I do not want any other liberation. This liberation for me. Tears were flowing spontaneously and uncontrollably. When I came out of that state, I felt guilty thinking about this. When he ceased to focus on liberation, why am I thinking of coming back? I asked Mohanji directly, and he responded, you will not come back because you have merged with me. Did I understand merging at that point? No. The Pandora's box was yet to open. Thus began my story of serving without expectation, reward, condition, or contract, and following the command of my Guru wholeheartedly. I have hundreds of experiences to show the various ways Mohanji performs, which are purely purpose-oriented, a few of which I share here. Mohanji's divine Leela from behind the scenes, making the impossible possible. Home for Baba. Here's a story about the Mohanji Center of Benevolence, MCB, Scotland. At the beginning of 2021, Mohanji gave Vijaybai, the chairman of MF UK, some directions on looking for suitable land for MCB in the UK. He mentioned that Scotland would be a good choice, not mandatory. Most of us in the UK Mohanji family are from London, so having the center in Scotland seemed impossible. In July 21, many of us from the UK team were with Mohanji in Belgrade, and this discussion came up. I raised my concern, asking Mohanji how practical it would be to look for a center in Scotland. Mohanji simply said, tradition will send the right people. Don't assume that you all have to do the day-to-day looking after. If Mohanji says, that will happen. So our search continued. This was merely window shopping, as we were far from about having the required funds. Around September 22, we came across a property in Glasgow, Scotland, which was within our budget. However, it didn't tick all the boxes. So we did not have a 100% agreement within the team to go for that property. After a few weeks, I traveled to Novi Sad, Serbia, to be with Mohanji, just before the Empowered 5 program in October 2022. That time, a new Mohanji follower, Jack Bharat from the UK, met Mohanji. Mohanji called me to his room, where he was speaking to Jack and said, Look, I found the priest for your MCB Scotland. You were worried about who will care for the center if you have the MCB in Scotland, right? Mohanji remembered the concern I had raised a year before. I realized the tradition had sent that person, as Mohanji had stated back then. By the way, we received the date of Baba's idol consignment being dispatched from Mumbai to London soon. Our Baba's idol, along with Ganesha and Datta idols, were coming along with Skandavel Baba's idol, and the plan was to keep Baba's idol in storage in Skandavel. The next day, Vijaybai discussed his property near Glasgow, Scotland, with Mohanji, and Mohanji indicated that we should be practical and consider this property. With this clue, we decided to go ahead and make an offer on the very last day. However, due to a lack of time and other formalities, our offer was not accepted. This caused me immense pain in my heart. The next morning, when I took tea to Mohanji, I was still feeling sad. Mohanji asked me what had happened. I sat in front of Mohanji with teary eyes and said, Mohanji, it's sure that Baba is coming to the UK. We have the dates already, but we don't have a home for Baba yet. Mohanji said, Close your eyes and pray to Baba to find his home. I closed my eyes and said, Mohanji, I don't know if Baba will hear me, but I'm praying to you. Please find your home. That cry had come straight from my heart, and it was the first time that I felt such intense pain. A month later, Mohanji sent Chris Greenwood, who was serving him as his executive assistant at that time, to the UK to help us find a property. Within 2 weeks, Chris shortlisted a couple of properties in and around Aberdeen, Scotland, and asked us to visit. Vijaybai and a few of us went there the next day. The first property did not appeal to us, but we were amazed as soon as we stepped into the second property. After a good look around the space when we were all together, Vijaybai asked us, What do you all feel? This land is calling me. This is the right indication, exactly as Mohanji had said. We all had the same feeling. There was something unbelievable. Also, there was a huge barn on this property that was being used as a riding school for training horses. When I looked at the barn, I remembered what Mohanji had said just after the Empowered 5 event. He mentioned that the next Empowered 5 should be in our own space, where we should have a hall that can accommodate about 1,000 people to practice Empowered 5. At that time, I had thought silently, will this dream ever come true? How can we find a space with such a big hall? And here I was, standing in front of this riding school hall that can accommodate 1,000 people easily. I was awestruck. Standing right at the entrance of this hall, I was visualizing Mohanji sitting on a huge stage with 1,000 people seated there. I told Vijaybai, we have found our empowered hall. After our discussion, Vijaybai and Chris went inside to speak to the owner, and I sat in the garden facing the field, looking up at the sky and enjoying the soft, warm sunshine of November. I felt something beautiful. I closed my eyes and started to feel that energy. Suddenly, that sunshine felt golden and very bright. I felt as if Datta was here. Mohanji's big presence became so intense. Vijaybai came out of the house and gave us the good news. The owner had accepted our offer. While excited, We seriously discussed gathering funds on our way back to London. We only had about 30% of the amount needed at that point. We needed the remaining funds in the next 2 months. When Baba had chosen his home, the rest of the things would be facilitated divinely anyway. Unexpectedly, we had people coming forward to help us. And finally, on 30th January 2023, the sale was completed. The consignment with Baba's idols landed in the UK port on 31st January 2023. Practically, when Baba landed in the UK, he had his home. We received possession of the home on 9th February, and the boxes with the idols of Baba, Ganesha, and Datta landed at the MCB only after that, straight from the port without having to go to Skandavale. We had to convert one of the barns into Baba's temple, and once again, the divine sent the builder too. One of our neighbors in this remote area was a builder who took on this project enthusiastically. All through the construction during the 3 months, Baba was in the box in the other barn as if he was directly overseeing the construction of his temple. Everything went so smoothly. We unanimously agreed on the spot in the central garden space for Datta's temple, where I had the beautiful experience of Datta's energy during our first visit. We wanted a simple glass conservatory model with a minimal budget for Datta's temple. However, considering the extreme weather situation, etc., the actual quote was almost 8 to 9 times higher than our original budget. There was no way we could have afforded it. But 2 days later, a donor came forward and donated the exact amount, and Datta's abode also became a reality. Finally, on June 15th and 16th, 2023, the grand inauguration of the MCB Scotland with Prana Pratishta of Ganesha, Datta, and Sai Baba took place. All these happened within 8 months of my conversation with Mohanji at Novi Sad in October 2022. I'm sure the intangible divine Leela of Mohanji is visible through the story. There are no delays, no impossible tasks, no shortage of support. The space and the energy of Baba represent abundance. Funds for Seva activities. When it comes to serving those in need, I have learned the true meaning of selfless service from Mohanji. Sometimes directly, but most often from the background. Mohanji moves mountains. In October 2021, Pitru Paksha was coming soon, the auspicious 15-day period to offer special rituals for ancestors. One morning, I had called up Somadi, the president of Amukare at that time, to speak about something. Her voice was low. She was feeling a bit depressed. Upon inquiry, she told me that, on Mohanji's advice, Amukare planned to feed 1,000 sadhus daily in Varanasi during those 15 days. Feeding sadhus brings immense cleansing and purification to the lineage. However, they only had 25% of the needed funds when she checked their availability. She was worried as there were only a few days left. All I said to her was, Didi, Mohanji hai na? Mohanji is there, right? If he has told you to do this, then have faith. Mohanji will make it happen. After speaking to her, I thought about how to help Amukare. Immediately, a name flashed in my head. I called him and talked about the project. Without delay, he kindly pledged 75% of the fund requirement for Amukare in less than 30 minutes. The program commenced, and we witnessed Anadan happening through photos during this period. At the end of it, one day, Soma Didi called me again and said in those 15 days, they had managed to feed not 3,000 sadhus, but 34,000 sadhus. This was possible because they had received almost 9 times the funds they had estimated initially. I told her that when Mohanji asks us to do something, he is the one who facilitates and makes everything happen. His grace was tangible in this case. In another example, at the end of 2023, with tremendous growth, Amukare also had a considerable expense of rupees 12 lakhs to be paid off urgently. Mohanji asked me if something could be done. When he uttered the word, I knew he was also mobilizing things and making them happen through us. Practically, I hope to raise at least 25% in that short time frame. I contacted some known people to see if they could raise funds. Then suddenly, I called another person and asked if she could raise funds for this. She asked me how much was needed and how much I had received so far. She said that whatever the gap is, she would donate. This was a pleasant surprise. Within 12 hours of my conversation with Mohanji, not just 25%, but the entire 100% amount was released. Though I know how Mohanji works and his speed, I can't stop being amazed every time I witness such miracles. Another heart-touching experience related to funding with Mohanji's grace happened before the new year 2021. Mohanji's love for children is genuinely appealing. Once, Mohanji asked me if it was possible to organize new t-shirts and toys for the 600 children from the underprivileged coastal colonies of Roxas City adopted by the Mohanji Philippines team. I checked with the team about the total amount needed for this, which is around 1200 USD. I only had sent them 300 USD by that time. How can I arrange the remaining amount in a short time? A few days before, I had done an MTM, Mohanji Transformation Method, session for a little child in the USA, and I told the mother that I didn't want to take any fees for the session. However, the mother insisted that she would like to donate some amount as a gratitude, as her child had shown exceptional improvement from a severe situation that could have led to a lifelong disability. So I mentioned helping these children in the Philippines to her. She was pleased to hear about this and immediately donated 300 USD. So out of 1200, I now had 600 USD. I still had to raise another 600 USD. The next day was truly miraculous. I received two messages. One was from someone from London. I had done a few Maitri sessions for her daughter who was in a critical condition during childbirth. She transferred 200 GBP equivalent to 300 USD. She messaged that she had previously transferred a lower amount, underestimating the number of sessions I had done, and requested me to accept this amount. The second message came from Australia, which was a pleasant surprise. This person transferred 300 USD towards an MTM session that I had done for her husband about 2 months earlier for this cancer issue. On this day, they had a confirmation from the hospital about him being free of cancer, and as gratitude, she wanted to donate the MTM session fees. I had forgotten about the session, but now, after receiving this money, I was stunned as that helped us reach the total amount we needed. So, in just a couple of days of Mohanji's advice to arrange the t-shirts and toys for the children, I had the total amount without asking for any donations. This entire money came as an energy exchange for Maitri and MTM sessions, the healing processes for which Mohanji is the source. I was speechless when I contemplated this whole Leela. One more fascinating story. In 2022, we ran the fruit tree plantation movement, aiming to complete 50,000 fruit tree plantations by 23rd February 2022, Mohanji's birthday. We were nearly there. The team from India asked for help in funding around about rupees 4.5 lakhs. I did some group Maitri events to raise funds for this, and finally we had about rupees 1 lakh pending. Those days, I was doing Maitri to someone. I had previously requested the client to feed cows of the Goshala that he runs as an energy exchange. Then I did one more session. This time, he insisted I take money for this Maitri session. That's when I asked him if he would like to donate towards the fruit tree plantation drive. I didn't mention any specific amount to him. 15 minutes later, I received a text from him confirming his transfer to Amuke for fruit tree plantation, which was 1 lakh rupees. This was almost about 10 times what I would have asked for the Maitri Energy Exchange. With this donation coming, we had achieved our target funding, and by Mohanji's birthday, we had our 50K fruit trees planted. This kind of incident blows my mind off. I knew this was once again Mohanji's Leela. There is one recent example of another Leela of Mohanji regarding how he makes seva activities possible. Towards the end of Jan 2023, in one of the Odisha WhatsApp groups, there was a message about a cow shelter in Puri that houses about 100 rescued old abandoned cows from the roadside. Beside a cow shelter, it has a cow hospital with a facility to admit and treat the cows when they face accidents on the roadside or are abused and beaten up. At that point, the cow shelter was going through a severe money crisis, and it came to a stage where the cows would have to be sent to slaughterhouses due to lack of funding to run the shelter. When I read this post, I immediately contacted Mohanji, asking him if I could get Amukare to support the shelter. Mohanji spontaneously responded to me to proceed with this and gave his blessings. After that, the entire process went at rocket speed, with us contacting the team, giving some initial donations, and raising it as a project within Amukare. When we had the Divine Trails of Puri with Mohanji event in February 2023, all the participants even managed to visit the shelter and feed the cows. Kind donors came forward to give regular support, and Amukare became a partner in this cow shelter. The regular monthly support, occasional donations from people, and especially daily feeding during the Pitru Paksha in October 2023 significantly impacted the stability of the cow shelter this year. A couple of days back, the gentleman who had initially posted the message and coordinated with us for the support called me. By the end of Jan 23, when I posted that message, there was only rupees 10,000 in the account with a threat of closing. Now, the balance by the start of January 2024 is rupees 10 lakhs. Thanks to you, Amukare and Mohanji. Thanks to you, Amukare and Mohanji. This abundance has come since you started supporting us. I am grateful. I was awestruck. From 10,000 to 10 lakhs. That is 100 times more. And not to mention, in this whole year, the cows have been looked after so well, fed well, and treated well. The day Mohanji spontaneously responded to my message regarding supporting the shelter, I knew he would make this possible, but I had not known that it would happen on this scale. This is how he operates. Not just from the background, I have also seen Mohanji directly doing everything needed to serve others. In March 2022, I traveled to Canada with Mohanji. One day, he called Chris and me to check the Dakshina money people had given him in London before his trip to Canada. When Chris told him the amount, Mohanji asked me to take that money and transfer to someone in India. I was shocked. He said this man from India called him and said that the construction of his house has come to a halt because of lack of funds. He has small children, so it was inconvenient for his young family. Mohanji said, this man was crying on the phone. I must do something. Please send the entire amount of my Dakshina. Let him complete his home as much as possible. I just melted at Mohanji's compassion. Whatever Dakshina amount he received, he gave that totally without any second thoughts. A few days later, another person came to meet Mohanji, who had the Dakshina money that people had given to Mohanji previously, which he had left with this person. This person has now distanced himself from Mohanji Foundation Canada, so he came to hand over the Dakshina money. Ideally, Mohanji should have kept it, but instead, he gave that entire money to Mahesh Bhai and asked him to use it for Canada MCB, which was in need of money. I had tears watching the scene silently. Last year, in September 2023, Mohanji came to Scotland. One day, he asked me if I could check the amount of Dakshina money he had received in the UK. I checked with Vijay Bhai. He then asked me to transfer the entire amount to someone in Europe to help him set up a new ethical business to help the community. It's incredible to see how Mohanji never hesitates to give whatever he has with him to help others unconditionally. Once, I spoke to Mohanji and said how unconditionally he does the seva. Mohanji told me very simply, remember, I am abundance. Our tradition is abundance. Datta is abundance. When people understand the value of our tradition, they can easily see the presence of this abundance. And the opposite can also happen when people do not believe in our tradition. There is no support at all. My head bowed down at the feet of my Guru, and I also expressed my deep gratitude for letting me witness the grace of this grand tradition. Mohanji replied, you are one of those people in my life who I trust wholeheartedly. I'm giving you tasks close to me and you do your work well. Plus, you do not have possessiveness. I'm with you always. What can I say after this? There is only gratitude, sincere gratitude. The next section, practical teachings and guidance on various activities. Akshay Patra, the inexhaustible vessel. During his visit to the UK in June 2017, Mohanji asked me if I would like to join his PA team. That was the commencement of my inner calling to serve the Guru. 3 months later, in October 2017, Mohanji came to the UK again, this time for a special visit to Skandavale. As his PA, I accompanied him along with Jay and Preeti. I had no idea of the experience awaiting me. I thought all I needed to do was cook for him and get his clothes ironed and ready. Mohanji was in Skandavale to spend quality time with the community, giving them one-on-one time, including training them in consciousness kriya. I witnessed Mohanji giving his time to everyone unconditionally. The meetings would start in the morning after breakfast and continue until late in the evening with lunch and dinner breaks in between. Mohanji had instructed me to offer food to all the swamis and sisters who would come to meet him. But it wasn't easy to predict how many people would be there at any given time, as the meeting time with them would vary. Planning and cooking with that uncertainty was challenging. However, I noticed that whenever the swamis or sisters would be there, sometimes 4 or 5 of them at a time, the food would be sufficient, even lunch or dinner. One day it so happened that I had very little time to cook lunch and had to prepare in advance for dinner, as it was a full day of Kriya training and I was assisting Mohanji. That evening, we had a sudden gathering of the entire community, more than 30 of them, as it was the birthday of one of the swamis. The food I had prepared was insufficient for even 10 people, but we had more than 30 people there. As we started serving, the pot had turned into Akshay Patra, the inexhaustible vessel in the true sense. Food was enough for all. Everyone ate to their heart's content and even praised the food for being so delicious. I experienced this Akshay Patra experience, the never depleting food in the presence of the Master for the first time. I have read this in Krishna stories and Sai Baba stories, but I was experiencing it happening in front of my own eyes in Mohanji's presence. I thanked him for making it possible for me to serve food to everyone. He said, I do my job. Indeed, he does. During those days, he also made me understand what it means to feed saints, not just cook food for them, but to serve and ensure that they have eaten well and are content. During the 4 day stay in Skandavale, Mohanji was working in many dimensions beyond our understanding, and I was flowing, not restricted to time and space. That's when I realized what it means to be merged into Mohanji's consciousness, where physical needs, food, drink, sleep, and emotions are not binding in life. I realized I do not exist, only he does. The rest of my journey while walking with Mohanji has been like watching a movie, witnessing how only he does everything and we are mere instruments. The Guru Leela story. A significant milestone for me was when I was given the role of testimonial lead in early 2018. The responsibility was to receive people's experience stories and publish them on our blog site. Reading people's experiences of Mohanji was a divine way of to know my guru. Reading people's stories was reading Mohanji's Satcharita. I was experiencing Mohanji in various dimensions. During the 100th year of Sai Baba's Samadhi in October 2018, the thought of bringing Mohanji's Satcharita into reality came to my mind. After discussing with the team, Shama and Rekha, I reached out to Mohanji for his blessings and approval to publish this as a book that will not just be about stories, but the live source of Mohanji's energy and protection for all who carry it. Upon receiving his approval, we started choosing stories to be included, and I sought Mohanji's approval for the book's name. Guru Leela was blessed by Mohanji. On 1st January 2019, I met Mohanji at his Palakkad home, and Mohanji gave me some practical advice and guidelines about the publication of this book. None of us in our team have any experience in book publishing. In merely 15 minutes, Mohanji gave me advice and moved everything needed to make this project possible. Exactly 3 weeks later, on 21st January 2019, Guru Leela Volume 1 was in Mohanji's hands. Sitting in one corner of the world, editors, layout designers, and printers in different paths, everything happened smoothly at record speed. I was witnessing the power and speed, the efficiency in the way things happen when there is none other than Mohanji making it happen from the background. Since then, several books, not just Guru Leela's, but other book projects, including the coffee table books, every book project has become a milestone in itself. Recently, in the first week of November 2023, when I was with him at Novi Sad, Serbia, someone came and told Mohanji that 5 books had been translated into other languages, had been ready for about 9 months. Still, she was trying to figure out how to take this forward. Mohanji wasn't happy to hear about this delay. He then asked me to ensure that all these 5 books in different languages were published by the end of December. As always, when Mohanji says to do things that otherwise seems impossible, he makes them all happen. Though I did not know how I would be able to make it happen with many dependencies, I knew in my heart that Mohanji would make it happen. By 31st December 2023, all 5 books were published. It's funny that Mohanji always gives me the credit and praises me, but I know and acknowledge that only he makes it happen. It's he who does. However, when Mohanji appreciates, those words become words of empowerment. Third section, Mohanji taking on severe impact on his own physical body to alleviate pain and karmic blockages of others, both individual and collective. Story of Ukraine War, March 2022. Mohanji was in London in March 2022. It had been a few busy days. One morning, Mohanji developed a cough and some chest congestion. By evening, the congestion had worsened. Still, Mohanji continued to meet people until late evening. I was serving him as his PA at that time. Before retiring to bed, since his condition was worsening, he asked me to do healing for his chest. When we heal his body, we still use his consciousness and energy to heal his physical body. But at the same time, Mohanji shows us the root cause that often brings us so much awareness for what he is up to. This time, it was the same. What I saw during this healing shocked me completely. I saw Mohanji standing in a ravaged landscape, an area devastated by war or something like that. He was huge with muscular arms, legs, and chest muscles. His face was calm and his eyes were compassionate. His whole body was covered with ash. Bodies were lying everywhere. Soon I saw all those bodies, not just human looking, but all beings waking up and latching onto every cell of Mohanji's body, from his feet to his shoulders, his hands. Then I noticed his chest opened up like a vast pit And all those beings who were latched onto his body were now jumping into this pit in his opened chest. I looked inside that pit and saw a fire burning with bright red gigantic flames. As these beings got into this pit, they dissolved into that fire and became ashes. I waited for quite some time, seeing more and more beings getting up from the outside space, latching onto Mohanji's body, then jumping onto the pit and dissolving into the ashes. I kept looking at Mohanji's face, calm, stable, compassionate. After a long session, I finally came out of that state. Mohanji was fastest. Well, now I knew where he was in reality. I realized that not only was my hand super hot, my whole body was trembling. Without disturbing Mohanji, I quietly left his room, hoping he would have a restful night and feel better the next day. After all, a day later, we had to fly to Canada. After I went to my room, I couldn't sleep as those images from Mohanji's healing were still vivid. I couldn't stop crying, and I didn't know why. Mohanji's compassion is genuinely unfathomable. He goes to such extents to bear so much for other beings, even physically. When I went to Mohanji's room with his morning tea the following day, I was still feeling sad. Mohanji was feeling slightly better. I sat at Mohanji's feet while he was having his tea, and tears rolled down my eyes. Mohanji asked me softly what had happened to me. I told him the vision I had during the healing. Mohanji calmly explained, any death during such situations makes the souls hang for a long time. I need to help them to release. You saw a tiny part of my action to release the souls. There are innumerable numbers. I asked him, but Mohanji, for releasing them, why do you have to burn them inside you? Why do you have to take this physical pain? Mohanji said, it's not a big deal for me. It's easier this way. I can burn these easily. It's just a matter of a few days. And it's worth it compared to how many lifetimes these souls have to hang around otherwise. I had nothing more to say after this. Incident during Canada trip, March 2022. Onji is never bound by his physical condition. I have witnessed this many times. A dire situation happened in March 2022 during his visit to Vancouver, Canada. Mohanji and a few of us had traveled from Toronto to Victoria, BC. When we reached Victoria, it was a nice warm day, almost 12 degrees centigrade, compared to the minus 18 degrees C and snow conditions in Toronto. We went to a beautiful park where Mohanji met a few more visitors who had come to see him. After that, there was a satsang at a church where he addressed people. But later that evening, he suddenly developed a cough. The cough intensified and became a chest congestion. It was so bad he couldn't sleep and kept coughing all night. The next day, there was an event in a Sai Baba's temple, and Mohanji had a satsang. His cough was getting worse, but he didn't cancel the program. He went ahead with the satsang and met many people after that. That night again, he was coughing continuously and couldn't sleep. We had to travel to Vancouver the following day, so we wondered whether he should travel in this condition or stay back and rest. This would mean canceling this Vancouver program. Mohanji insisted the program should not be cancelled. Baba is waiting for me. Hundreds of people are waiting for me. I cannot cancel the program. I will travel to Vancouver. I will manage. He assured us. Through the flight to Vancouver though the flight to Vancouver was only 25 minutes, there was some delay and we had a long wait at the airport. That meant there could only be a little time left for the event as soon as we arrived. I felt anxious thinking about Mohanji's constant coughing and chest congestion. Mohanji understands everything. While waiting at the airport, he kept us engaged, telling us funny incidents and leaving us laughing and rolling on the floor. While I was worried about his health, he didn't seem bothered. Finally, we boarded the plane. When we came out of the flight, Mohanji was looking very unwell. His cough had worsened. Looking at this condition, the team decided to cancel the program. Once again, Mohanji repeated that he could not disappoint the people who were waiting for him. It was an event at the Sai Baba temple. Mohanji took some rest and then went ahead with the event. With the new place and audience, and despite a terrible cough, Mohanji managed the satsang very well and met everyone patiently and with as much time as needed. While we were at the Sai Baba temple, I sat down quietly in the corner and with Mohanji's permission, I did distance healing for his chest. After the event, he spent quality time with the local team when he returned to his residence. It had been a long and turbulent day for him, and despite his chest condition and bad cough, he was patiently performing all his duties lovingly and compassionately. At that time, I was in constant touch with Dr. Umesh and was giving homeopathy medication to Mohanji regularly. As the evening progressed, Mohanji's cough got worse, so he sat upright on the chair the entire time. We were supposed to travel back to Toronto the following day. At one point, while he was speaking to Dr. Umesh, his cough became very severe, like a fit, and he fell on his back on the bed with his eyes rolled up. He was unable to breathe. For a moment, my heartbeat stopped. With the phone in my right hand and Dr. Umesh on the line, I held Mohanji's wrist with my left hand and pulled him to sit straight upright. I still don't know how I got the strength and power at that time. As Mohanji sat up, he could breathe again. My heart was racing fast, but I gathered myself and calmly explained everything to Dr. Umesh, who kept assuring and guiding me. During those few hours, while witnessing Mohanji's state, the only thought in my head was about how to get some relief and ensure he returned safely to Toronto the following day. Thanks to Dr. Umesh's excellent care and medication, Mohanji felt better the next day and we could travel back to Toronto. I had witnessed Mohanji's condition for the last 2 days, but despite that, he did not cancel any of the events and continued as planned. After reaching Toronto, though his condition was slightly better than Vancouver, he was still in a bad condition. It was minus 18 degrees Celsius in Toronto and snowing. Before leaving Toronto, Mohanji wanted to complete some of his pre-committed events, including a visit to a devotee's home. It was snowing, the devotee's home was at least an hour away, and Mohanji still wasn't well. Despite all this, he didn't want to cancel this house visit and said he would complete the commitment. I had tears in my eyes. Yet I was feeling slightly angry, thinking what was the urgent need for prioritizing this commitment above his health and traveling a long distance in lousy weather. The situation of the previous night in Vancouver was vivid, and I couldn't imagine seeing Mohanji again in such a terrible condition. I know Mohanji doesn't let his pain get in the way of his duties and commitments. His love for his devotees was beyond his pain. It wasn't comfortable to watch him doing this, but my heart was grateful to witness this act of unconditional love from Mohanji. While I was worried about his health within this physical reality, I was also aware of the higher purpose behind why Mohanji had taken this physical pain onto his body. He had shown me this while I was feeling his chest that evening at the Sai Baba temple in Vancouver. Mohanji had taken on very severe and some life-threatening situations from some of his people, especially a little child. Witnessing the truth in the metaphysical dimension while witnessing what was happening in the physical reality was a completely different experience. The duality, the truth beyond all pain and suffering, and the pure unconditional love that Mohanji operates from in every moment, this wasn't easy to understand. The astounding reality of the magnanimous Mohanji. Awareness regarding the Slovenia incident, September 2022. Mohanji can also endure physical pain without suffering. This is my realization of Mohanji from a different dimension that he allowed me to witness through healing. After the car accident in Slovenia in October 2022, some of us healed Mohanji's body. I would like to share the description of the vision and understanding of this incident from this healing session. When attempting to heal Mohanji's heart, I saw the land of Slovenia's Mohanji Peace Center. His heart resembled the shape of that land. I then saw huge flames all around that land. Some houses on the land were charred in the fire, and all the residents were perishing. Mohanji showed me that this was a disaster that he could remove only by taking it on himself physically. It was not just about the fire on the property, but also about saving the lives of many of his devotees and volunteers serving at the center. While the healing progressed, I saw the fire subsiding, but still, there were patches of fire here and there around his heart. I knew that was no small karmic event that Mohanji had eradicated by taking the big hit on his own heart. Some effect will remain upon both his heart and overall health until those small fire patches on his heart eventually dissipate and faded. The vision clarified the fresh lease of life that Mohanji had given to many. Mohanji did show me the faces. It wasn't necessary, but the reality is that he's standing firm in front and facing all possible storms in life that come, protecting his people like a loving father. He has given new lives, rebirths to many of his devotees, like a mother taking the pains of a child and almost dying in the birthing process. The purpose behind Mohanji taking such harrowing physical conditions onto his own body is not just an act of sympathy or even empathy. Still, this is true empowerment that Mohanji gives them through new births and complete transformation. Many might not realize this now, some will recognize it in time. Mohanji does his work quietly, without an announcement or taking any credit. He is bound to his purpose. It is also true that he will not leave things halfway until his job is done here, this incarnation. He never has done that in any of his previous incarnations. However, such incidents are hard-hitting wake-up calls for all of us. If we remain asleep, we will surely miss the boat again. The purpose behind every single act of Mohanji is apparent. Nothing is a coincidence or an accident. This is the master plan of the great master and the tradition behind him to wake us up, transform us, and empower us. So I'm going to stop here with this beautiful write-up by Subhashri. And hello, Piali and Ulla.
Hi.
This is from the book Mohanji's Guru Leela, and there is still more to read from Subhashri's story. But this entire thing is all about how Mohanji works in the background and also sometimes even from front. Unselfishness, totally selfish, absolutely. He doesn't care about himself. He's able to take on so much, and the way he takes it on and without showing it to anybody, all in the background silently. So it's a beautiful testimonial to read more about it. You can always get this book, Guru Leela Book 6. They walked with him.
It's amazing. Amazing.
Really, as I was reading, I had tears. I was getting goosebumps in certain places, and certain places I was having tears. It's amazing how he works. In fact, in one part of the book, she speaks about how Mohanji gives away the money as given to him as dakshina. I witnessed this myself here. He had come down to India to my place, and he had inaugurated a Sai Baba temple. And there he was again given dakshina by the people who went to the temple. You know what Mohanji did? It is so amazing. And the way the temple is flourishing now is His grace and Baba's grace, of course. So he just returned the money, and he said, "This is my first donation to the temple, and this temple will never be short of funds." And he gave the money to the temple. Until today, the temple, whenever the money is needed, it comes. The exact amount comes. And I'm witnessing it regularly. So this is how Mohanji operates.
Amazing. Unbelievably amazing.
Really. I was, I don't know why today, actually, everything is a Leela. I opened another story. I said, okay, let's read this story today. And suddenly something told me today I should read Subhashri's story in the same book. So then I, I had even, we maintain a sheet where we write down what are the stories we are reading. I went and changed that, and I then took up Subhashri's story. And I think whoever's listening to it today or even later, you're meant to listen to it and get to know Mohanji from another dimension. There is more, but it's almost time, and I thought, it's too long for people to stay focused and listen. So just left out a few incidents. That's it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And apologies to be joining late today.
No worries, Piali. It's absolutely fine. It's there on Mohanji and I YouTube. So it's there live. And we'll also put it on our Mohanji and I Facebook page, the link. So if you missed the first part, you can always listen to it. I know this weekend has been very, very busy for all of us with so many Navratri events happening. And yesterday was Baba Samadhi Day and events happening in all MCPs. So all of you, I'm sure, have enjoyed this a lot and enjoyed all the sessions everywhere. And and I think we just flow with Mohanji's grace and love and continue staying connected with him. That's the key. Okay, so
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
thank you for joining, and thank you to all those who are listening on MAI YouTube page. Thank you so much. We'll meet again next Sunday. Jai Mohanji.
Thank you so much. Jai Mohanji.
Jai Mohanji.